Thank you to iNBEON for hosting us and having such amazing panels over this past weekend and allowing me to close out this amazing virtual con. Normally, I would say that they have saved the best for last, but after watching the panels this weekend, I think iNBEON did an amazing job bringing together some amazing panels. This is the best virtual con of the summer, hands down. Over this past weekend, you guys have learned a lot of stuff, met a lot of creators, and even found out that you can go back to school by going to comicbookschool.com and joining all the creators that are already bringing such amazing things to life. I wanted to take just a little more of your time to give you advice on the creative field in the industry known as the comic book market. But I didn't come alone. I brought some super creative friends with me tonight. But first, for those who don't know this voice, it's time that you meet the comic advocate, sometimes known as the Indie Devil. Mr. Anderson is the unboxable advocating creator known as the Indie COMiX Devil, who will tempt you with his devilish tales of fetish, monsters, and more. He is the giver of free hugs on Tempt, and he is a partner in Continual Comics. Check out everything Anderson at chainlinks.site. Like I said, I'm here tonight representing comic book creators. We're going to have a great program. I've got some great people to introduce you to. You see, I got all dressed up for you, so I hope you're all impressed. I want to start off by just acknowledging the fact that creating comics isn't easy. That's really the truth in it. So the fact that you guys are here and you want to learn more, that's the first step. As education is the most important thing. Now, I just wanted to take a quick moment and tell you what Comic Book Advocates is all about. For those of you who don't know about Comic Book Advocates, I know, like, everyone should know already, but just in case, this is Comic Book Advocates right here. And you guys can see right there that we have apparently a little bit of a vocal issue. So I'll tell you guys, I'll do it live. So here we go. We'll stop the camera and I'll do live. So Comic Book Advocates is where the love of comic comes first. We do the Indie News Wire. We talk about all the different news coming out from indie creators. We get educated through comics, talking about the history, the past, and all the stuff that's going on that can help you further your skill. We talk about indie creators in the Previews magazine. We even get freaky on Fridays. We talk about crowdfunding and how to make your crowdfunding experience the best it can be for you and your backers. We have the Comics Market Watch, where we study the market and see what's going on, share the information with you. And Indie Know goes over the educational material and shares it with you via Twitter, as does the Comics News Wire, which gives you a basic focus about everything. All of our Twitters are listed in there. And of course, we do the Comic-Con forecast. And if you want to stay in to know, you got to go check out our Indie Know Twitter feed. It has everything going. Of course, there you say, here we are in the iNBEON Con. This is all the stuff we have, including Backer Pause, which helps everyone get their campaigns a little more shine, and that's what we're here to do. We're make it shiny for everyone. And speaking of Backer Pause, for those, here's your first tip of the night. These materials, along with tape, a backer board, and a bag for a comic, are important. These are Gemini mailers. They come to you as a piece of cardboard. And then I'll do it real quick. You just do this, you do that, you do that, you do that, you do that. And that's it. Boom, voila, it's a magic trick. You get used to it very quickly. Now, if you noticed, I had bubble wrap in my hand. Why do I have bubble wrap? Because I'm insane. I want to make sure that my fans get their packages without damage. Bubble wrap's not that cheap. If you use it, it'll help protect the comics. I have seen that everyone's like, oh, Gemini mail, it can't get screwed up. That is not true. I've seen it. My mailman is out to destroy Gemini mailers at my location. My mailbox now tilts to the left because of all the Gemini mailers he shoved in. Trust me, Gemini mailers are going to save your products. Now, in a little bit, we're going to meet up with my partner in Continuum Comics, Mike Seeley. But in the meantime, I have someone else to introduce you to. As a matter of fact, he's the hardest working man in comics. So I'm going to get out of the way, and I'm going to introduce you to my friend, Victor Dandridge. And he's got some advice just for you.
Victor Dandridge, hardest working man in comics here, and my pal, and your pal too, Mr. Anderson, asked me to share a couple of thoughts to any up-and-coming creators that might be out there, and that's what I'm about to do. The concept here is going to be about encouragement, right? Like really about what you should be aiming for when you step foot into this business. And I think it's something that so many people need to hear, but very few people are actually talking about. A few days ago, I saw online someone asked a question of who is the best black writer in comics right now, and there are a number of answers that people gave, and what struck me as most interesting is no one who replied said themselves. Now, I didn't reply because that's exactly what I would have said, as well as expect anyone else that's in this craft to feel the same way about their craft. If you're not aiming to be the best, why are you doing this? Now, what constitutes being the best is subjective. That is to each and everyone's own taste and whim and all that stuff. But that's kind of the beauty of what being in comics is all about. If I were to ask you what was the best Batman graphic novel, short story, trade paperback, or whatever, I would get a ton of different answers from everybody because everybody's idea of the best is different. What's even better is that if you disagree with my choice, chances are it's just not your best, but you can't say that it's not a great piece. Like there's very rare things in comics that somebody would be like, oh my God, that's the best. And collectively everyone goes, no, that's trash. So that's my advice to you. If you step foot in this business, if you want to get into the creative arts, always shoot your best shot. No matter what. It doesn't matter what the pay is, what the outcome is, the audience seems like. You do your best work because you always want to be the best. Being the best doesn't mean you can't get better. That's kind of obvious, but I felt like I needed to say it just to make sure, you know, the first work that you do, it's your best work that you can do at that time. At that time. Obviously, you keep going, you'll get better. Maybe you'll look back at that and you'll go, that's trash. But it was your best. That's what matters. So to recap, my one real piece of advice to any up-and-coming creator, and even established ones, be the best, because you are the best, even if it's just to you. Live up to it. Peace.
Now, I'm telling you the truth. I heard that, and I was like, for sure, I want to be the best in the room. I don't always think I'm the best in the room yet. I mean, I do think that there are certain people who do better storytelling than me. The list is getting smaller and smaller as I am getting better and better. And that's the whole goal of that, is to constantly put yourself out there. But if someone asks who's the greatest writer in the room, I'm always going to raise my hand, because you know what? I'm a diverse creator. I go across different genres. And it's weird because when I first started my career, I started with Free Hugs and Spanks, Barbara Unleashed. It's a fetish book. And then I did a monster book. Then I did a kids book. And people didn't know what to make of me. And it took a very long time to step out of the shadow of a genre. But now people, for the most part, accept the fact that I'm going to create whatever I want, whenever I want. But that has opened so many doors for me. I get invited to different opportunities. Of course, I'm working with comic book schools, you guys heard, which, by the way, you guys can get a free download of the Comic Book School project that happened in 2020, and they're going to have something new. Right now, check it out. Go over to comicbookschool.com, get the free download. This has my creative journey in it. It's Creator Connections Panel 1, available at comicbookschool.com, and there's going to be another one coming out at New York Comic Con this year, 2021, and I'm super excited about being able to be part of educating new creators up and coming, and actually still learning myself. I never stop learning. But being a diverse creator, I mean, we just dropped actually this week a picture of Mike Seeley, who'll be on the show right now, drew Fox for the first time. No one's seen my character. Wolf and Fox is about these superhero duo that were married but got a divorce. But they still have to work together to co-parent a city. Fox came out. People are excited. I love that energy that you can put out there as a creator, and I love being able to go from different genres to different genres. I've written about the Yellow Brick Road. I've written about bullying. We have Cat Dad and Supermom #2 under my Bobby Gregory brand. For those who don't know, I also write under a pseudonym, Bobby Gregory. It's actually just, believe it or not, it's Robert. Rob is Bobby, and Gregory is my middle name. I do that to separate the children who might look up, not to find Mr. Anderson's fetish monsters and more. So I am mindful of that. And I'm controversial with the signage that I have over here, but also love working with Continuum Comics. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But trust me, you guys are going to see constantly me making new stories. And I'll let Mike Seeley talk more about Eclipse, who's a Hawaiian hero. But I remember the first time he asked me about, had I ever heard of a Hawaiian superhero? I said, like Magnum P.I. It was my only train of thought with it. But when he tells you what he has in store, it's going to amaze you. And I can't wait to have him on the program. But before we call him on, we are going to meet up with another creator friend of mine. That's right. I brought all my friends. Well, not all of them. I brought as many friends as I could get to you guys tonight to give some advice. So we're going to introduce you guys to another friend of mine. And here we go. This is my friend, Fish Lee, giving some sage-like advice.
Hey, kiddies. This is your fabulous Uncle Fish coming at you live from the internet. I can be found on all the social medias as Mr. Fish Comics. I can be found on the interwebs at MrFishComics.com, and I am one of the hardest working, fastest guys in indie comics right now. I am knocking out pages left and right for the Sentinels, for 5 Star, for the Power Company. I'm even working on my own book, Green Zone, and a bunch of other things. I got a new project coming out for Gallant Comics pretty soon that I'm really excited for you guys to see. I can't wait to get to share it. So that's what I do for a living. I may not be the best artist in the world, but I get a lot of steady work because I've got a good work ethic. I've picked up a lot of things from my years as a freelance artist, from my years working in comics, from my experience with other creators, and I've learned a lot of things. I've learned from a lot of my mistakes, other people's mistakes, a lot of our successes, and I try as best I can to share that with as many other people as I can. That's the whole reason I started doing this TikTok video, is so I can share the things I've learned, so maybe the new creators coming up, the next generation, can have a little bit easier time. Maybe they don't have to make the same mistakes. If you can learn from my mistakes, good on you, buddy. My buddy, Mr. Rob Anderson, you may know him as the Indie Advocate, the Indie Devil. He wanted me to share a video with some of my best advice. And my number one advice is always do your best work. It doesn't matter if you don't like the client. It doesn't matter how much they pay. Always do your best work. Because the reader on the other side of that, they may be across the globe. You're not going to be there to make excuses about why this work isn't so good. You're not going to be able to say, well, they were rude. They hurt my feelings. Well, they were only paying half as much per page. The reader doesn't know that. The reader sees your name and this is your work. That's your reputation. Always do your best job. And number 2 is protect that reputation. Our reputation is more valuable than gold. We need to protect it like a dragon guards his hoarded pile of treasure. We need to guard it. We need to watch over it. We need to polish it. We need to protect it. And if there's anything that we can do on our end to fix our reputation, we need to take whatever steps are possible. I can't change the experience somebody else had with me in the past, but I can change the things I do going forward to make sure that I don't have angry clients like that going forward. If I had a bad experience with somebody, I need to look at why. Maybe I need to be more selective in the clients I pick. Maybe I need to not take on jobs that I can't afford to do. Maybe I need to be clear with my communication. Whatever it is, all we can control is us. So we need to do that as best we can. We need to look at what people are saying about us, and if it's not good, what can I change on my end? I can't change how they feel, but I can change what I do going forward so that I don't end up making those same mistakes. Always doing my best work, always protecting your reputation. Take on jobs that you know you can do. Take on jobs that are going to be successful, that fit in your wheelhouse, that you know you're going to excel at. Don't take on things where they're asking you to do stuff that you know you're not good at because you know the client's not going to be happy.
And that was some great advice. And hey, I'll even go a little further on this by saying this: get everything in contracts. Always work with contracts. That's a great way to keep you safe. I have experienced people running their mouth, but because I have everything in screenshots and I have every email, I don't worry about people making up lies about me. Because if anyone were to seriously come to ask me about something, I've got more than the information. And that's just keeping everyone honest. Try to communicate people through emails, record your meetings. Do it at a StreamYard, record your meetings, and keep those screenshots for conversations with them. I will say this with screenshots: do not share private information publicly. People should be able to talk to their friends in messengers. I'm not a big fan of exposing people and showing screenshots. I don't particularly do it. Sometimes you have to, because a person will flat out lie, and by lying, you have to show the proof, and I understand that. But there's a difference between showing proof that they're lying and then showing all the nasty things they've ever said in their life in your messenger, and that's more revenge than setting the record straight. So with that in mind, we're going to give you some really hard advice that every creator needs to hear. And then we're going to bring on someone named Mike Seeley to talk about continuing.
Here's some of the toughest advice that you're ever going to be given, but it's true. You can't control who likes you. You're not going to be able to control what people say about you. And you're never going to be able to control what people say about what you create. One of the hardest parts about being a creator is those moments where you hear things about yourself, where you see people talk about something you created in a negative way. And when people can and will lie about associations with you. Just because you're a comic book creator doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to be around the best people in the world. Granted, there's some amazing people in the comic book industry. I happen to be friends with some really great people. So there is a very supportive community within the industry, if not many communities. However, the advice to be given here is that there aren't all good people here. And someone is going to say something, and someone is going to want to tell you about the thing that that person said. And there is going to be negativity that you're going to face as a creator. You have to understand this, and you're going to have to be okay with this. There are different approaches to it. Some people completely ignore it. Some people actually defend themselves at every drop of the hat. And other people have a tendency to listen to what is good feedback that they might be missing versus, we'll put it, negative behavior that really has no value. This can be some of the most difficult part of creating, is because as a creator, we're putting out what we've created. It is part of who we are, and we're letting the world see it. And we do get a little protective. We do get a little, sensitive, if we're being honest, about how people talk about us, even outside of the creative world. Imagine what they say when we're in the creative world. Sadly, there are no quick answers or easy fixes for this. You guys see people arguing about everything nowadays. It's not going to change. It's going to continue. And as a creator, you have to be ready for that to come knock at your door. My advice to you is to listen when it's reasonable and ignore it when you know it's someone just lying or someone just attacking you. I've had reviews given for my books, and I know that people never read them. It goes with the territory. I'm not telling you to get thicker skin or anything like that. I just want you to be aware that this is going to happen, and it does happen, and to emotionally be ready for it, and in your mind, really evaluate what they're saying, and maybe get rid of the people who are spreading the rumors from your life, because they might be just as toxic as the people saying the things. And remember to stay positive.
And you guys are noticing that a lot of these videos are from TikTok. Well, here's a little bit of advice as I bring Mike onto the show with me. TikTok's a great way to show off your creative stuff. There's been Instagram. Snapchat is not really good for creative stuff so far than I've noticed. It's for other things from what I've seen. And by the way, breaking news, if you haven't heard it, I know everyone was really upset about this in the past couple of weeks. Don't worry. OnlyFans is not going to change their policy. They found a way around it. So everyone, you can keep all the cosplayers can rejoice. OnlyFans is not changing. But seriously, kidding around aside, this is an industry. There's going to be hurt feelings. You can be a professional. You can be an amateur. An amateur goes around trying to settle scores online like a keyboard warrior. A professional simply takes note of who a person is and then acts accordingly to avoid working with that person in the future. and they go about their way creating their content. Always let your content speak for yourself. And speaking of someone who lets his content speak for him, Mike Seeley, you have the floor. Introduce yourself. Tell them who you are.
I'm Mike. I'm an artist, creator of Eclipse, up and coming comic that's got its introduction in the first issue of the Continuum. As we introduced the Continuum, I was able to introduce Eclipse. I've been doing work for projects for Marvel, some small DC and Star Wars stuff. I'm excited about art. I continue to be excited about art. I'm excited about raising up other people and guiding people in any way I can on the artistic side of things.
Now, you're also one of the partners within Continuum Comics. I cannot stress to you guys enough how instrumental he is in living when I started the book Continuum. It was all about helping and making a bridge for creators to all come and work on. And this is a person, he's one of the good guys that I was talking about, the good people in the industry, because he really wants to help the creators. Can you just talk a little bit about the importance of the next generation and how we want Continuum Comics to actually be that place where creators can come and play?
Yeah, I feel like our vision's always been, and it's a trickle effect from you, Rob, in the sense that you've always tried to elevate other people in different avenues, and I'm about that as well. And I feel like I lean more towards the younger crowd that you can speak to them and know the feverishness that they have towards art, whether it's anime. When at different cons, I've had girls come up, guys come up, people anywhere from 13 all the way up to going into their 30s, but you can hear the feverish pitch of excitement of ideas that they have, or you can look at their art in their book and see that they got this energy and that they are passionate and love it. And so I'm always trying to push them to go to the next level and in their lane. And the lane is slightly different now, being that more people are into anime, but I want that to even tap in too. And that's part of our vision too, to try to bring in more anime. You can't go, no matter what, you can't go wrong with superheroes, because we still turn on TV and go to, whether we go to CW or we go and watch something on Marvel or Disney Plus to go see some guys getting heroed up kind of thing. So that's always at our core in our mythos, especially here in America.
I can tell you this, we're trying to get rid of those chalk lines which separate people. Like, we want manga fans to become comic book fans, and we want comic book fans to become manga fans, or manga, depending on how you're supposed to say that. And we want to get rid of these barriers. We don't want to just be indie anymore. There's nothing wrong with being an independent creator and being proud of that, but you don't have to literally knock down the people next to you to get ahead. That's not how this works. We're all in this together. You've seen a lot of pro creators going into the independent market, and all independent means is that you're doing it on your own dollar. You're doing it on your own way. It's nothing else, guys. I mean, there's nothing wrong with working with Marvel, DC, whoever else you consider mainstream, but it's nice to have a company that puts the creators and fans at the same level. In our LLC, the Continuum Comics here, we're going to have different imprints, which you can see behind me. And they're very important. We have Playtime Comics, which will be for the children. We'll have Comics Unleashed, which is the new home of Barbara Unleashed, by the way. So that's going to be awesome. Heroics Comics is going to be where Wolf and Fox is going to wind up. With that's, what would you say age group for that would be? It's 12, right?
Yeah, 12 and up. Meaning, when I say 12 and up, we want to give the power to the parents if they're younger than that. It's not going to have any heavy sexual implications. And then as far as, profanity, we're going to lean more away from that when we're dealing with that. Because we want to make it so, your mom can pick it up, or a kid can grab it, and you're not worrying about, oh, wait, you're not supposed to read that part of it.
Yeah. And then Written Since Comics will deal with our horror. A brand I've built for years that everyone wants to be a horror thing will be horrific. It'll deal with the more gory and suspense things. We're definitely going to challenge it. But we're not rushing anything out. This is one step at a time as it happens. Barbara Unleashed is launching Comics Unleashed for a very good reason this year. We're out of Barbara Unleashed. We will be selling out of her third printing of the first issue. So that's kind of impressive that we're here, and it's earlier than we expected. This year has been a little more busier than I expected it to be, with cons coming back so quickly, so it's very exciting. But one thing that is super exciting, like we talked about Wolf and Fox, everyone got to see Wolf during our first campaign, which you can find on heroics.com. And on the Kickstarter, you can see Wolf, but no one has seen Fox. So for those of you who haven't seen this, this is just making Instagram go crazy. Facebook, everyone is talking about how dope this is. This is a character I created that is very, very interesting. And I can't wait for you guys to get to know more about her. But that art jumps off the page. It makes me want to like stop everything else I'm doing and work on it. If I could only clone Mike and have 3 of him, I would be in a great place right now. But we're working on Eclipse. Eclipse will be coming out this October. That has been greenlit for a full series run. We're not even doing a limited edition. That'll get a full series run through Continuum Comics. For now, I think we're putting it in Heroics, but there could be something. So stay tuned. There might be something else coming to Continuum. You're gonna have to check out the home of comics and see what we're up to in the next couple of weeks, because Continuum is all about comics and our love for it and our passion for it. Continuum is affiliated with comicbookaDvocates.com, and of course, I'm affiliated with Comic Book School, so we are trying to bring as many different avenues together as we can, and that's part of the marching orders of Mike. Mike wants to, he wants to see, what is it? Quality is the determining factor, and a lot of people have called that gatekeeping, but I think you say it best, so I'm going to give you the mic.
Yeah, I would say I want you to be able to pick up a Marvel, a Image, a DC, because they've set the standard. Whether we like it or not, they've set the standard in art. They've set the standard in how things should be colored, the quality of the book, how it should look. And so I want our book to have that. It passes the look test, the smell test, the taste test, in storylines, being creative, and just continuing in that realm. And the people that are right at the cusp, we also want to push them forward, and that's what Comic Book School is partly for those that are trying to hone their skills so that they can eventually go on to be with another bigger publisher like us, or another smaller publisher, or even move on to doing stuff with the big four. You know, right. I mean, we don't want to stop anybody's ability to be able to grow, be able to make money, and and fall into the love that they have, whether it's writing, coloring, lettering, whatever avenue in comics. That's what we're trying to make an avenue for them in different avenues, in different spaces.
And they can independently do it. And of course, they can use Continuum. The Continuum series, which a lot of the books will say Continuum Presents, as we're giving the first issues and all that, because this is all going to be part of a library that I said will make 100 issues of the Continuum. Now, the Continuum itself will launch. We've already talked about it. Right now, it's going to launch Eclipse #1. That'll say the Continuum Presents issue #1. But after that, Eclipse becomes its own thing. So we're doing this oh man, Tales from the Crypt meets like Rod Sterling, The Outer Limits, Twilight Zone. We have this character called the Continuum, and he's like the Watcher meets Rod Sterling, and he'll be introducing things using hexagens, which show you different universes. It's a great opportunity for creators to test ideas. Wolf and Fox, we put that out there, and we were like, let's see what happens with this. And every show we've been at, people are like, wow, that's a really good idea. And I'm not the first person to write about a divorced duo trying to work together. There have been other people, but none of them have treated where they're co-parenting a city. This is a different take. It's in a metaphor for divorce. And in this culture, it's a good way to show things. And for me, with my son, who's 6, I want him to know later when he looks back at my creative journey that I took seriously right away the idea that I had to work with his mom to better his future. So there's a lot of passion that goes into a lot of my writing. Mike had actually said 2 things that I'll never forget. The first one was, I don't want anything put out in this that I wouldn't pay for. If you're not willing to put your money in, don't even bring it to me. And I was like, that's like the strongest answer ever. If I wouldn't pay for it, because he'll be like, hey, I thought some guy was asking you something. I was like, I wouldn't pay for it. And that's the end of the conversation. He doesn't ask me anything more. He knows right then and there. That's the staple. And the second thing that he said to me was that I put a lot of my own self into my work. And I hadn't realized it until he pointed out. Because Mike, for those who don't know, is a very good friend of mine. We've known each other for years now. And he knows he gets to see a part of me most people don't get to see. You all think you know me, but you really don't. You only get to see what you want to see. And that's always interesting to me. And Mike gets this joke. I'm always interested to find out what Rob's doing next, because I like following the fictional Rob because he's way more interesting than the real life Rob. And Mike knows this. Mike has seen my everyday, and it's not that fascinating. But the way that sometimes I'm drawn out in the public eye is amazing. I absolutely love that guy's journey. But that just goes to show you that you can't always fake it. There are a lot of people who will fake it. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with this either. Please understand it. It's okay not to be ready. It's okay to need to take time to hone your skill. Too many people are putting out bad things and putting a price tag on it, not realizing that later on people aren't going to trust them when they really have earned that spot. I did 4 comics before I even put a price tag on a single one. The first one I put was Barbara Unleashed's original version. I went back and redid it even still, and people liked the original version. But by the time I redid it for the second, as we rebranded it, people liked it more. It was an improvement. I had shown that I had grown, so the people who'd been on the journey were like, wow, okay, this is a great movement. I can see it. There's nothing wrong with growing. Do the best you can today, but know that you're going to learn as this journey goes on, and you're going to continue to grow. And that's why working with other people sometimes is good. Being rejected from a publisher is sometimes good, especially when they give you honest feedback. If, no one wants to hear they suck, but if someone says, hey, you're doing this and this isn't working, if you can redo that, do this, change this, and come back to me, they're giving you a door.
I've experienced that.
Yeah.
San Diego Comic-Con, New York City Comic-Con, I've had my portfolios reviewed. I'm not going to name the company, but he looked at my work 2 years in a row, I think 2016, 2017 in San Diego. And he's seen my talent and my potential. And he was honest, and I'm so glad he was honest. And because some people would take it as being critical, but he's seen the strength. He spoke on the strengths. And I've just recently had a conversation with him at a con, I want to say 2 cons ago, and he remembered me because he remembered seeing art. He's like, he don't always remember the faces, but he remembers the art that he looked at. And he says, I've seen so much growth in you. And that's why when I speak with artists that are working and honing their skills, in no way I ever want to hinder them, but I want them to push it to the next level. Not being comfortable with what they're hiding from. Because as an artist, we hide from certain things that we're not good at, but you almost have to embrace it to get better at it. And I think that applies, in wouldn't you say with art, with writing as well sometimes?
Yeah, you get more comfortable, you get to learn your characters more, and you get a skill and you find your voice. And let me tell you, an editor is absolutely necessary. You're going to need an editor on this journey, but you're also going to have to learn to talk to editors and really stand up for your story. I have had arguments where people wanted to put commas everywhere. I've had arguments where people wanted to change the way a character sounded because it wasn't proper English. You have to be ready to go head to head with the person you hire. And you have to explain day one when you get an editor, be like, look, I'm going to defend my position. This is what I expect from you. You can make suggestions, but understand I'm going to go back and forth. And in the end of the day, as the creator, it's my call. And if an editor is not okay with that, find an editor who is, because that will not, don't get into a relationship with an editor that will hurt the creative process. And with that in mind, we're going to play our next video, which is another one for me. And I think you might find this one a little shocking.
Some advice that you should have been given and should know already, but I'm going to re-inform you, is to A, don't fake it till you make it, earn it by putting in the work. So work your ass off in the comic book industry by learning as much of the history as you can, by studying the techniques that will help you make a commercial ready product. In other words, something you would spend your money on. And on top of all of that, make sure that you're paying attention to the trends that are going on in the world. You are paying attention to the comic book industry and the things that are changing, and also what social media platforms are working best. Learn about crowdfunding. You're going to have to learn so much about creating, including all the stuff that we do to keep creating, like crowdfunding, being on social media, promoting our stuff, going to cons. It's your job to get an education, and it's your job to not fake it till you make it, but it's to study it and earn it.
And that's one of the biggest things I can't stress to you enough. One of the worst advice I was ever given in the comic book industry was to fake it till I make it. And I never went by that. I always thought that sounded weird. I wouldn't fake being a doctor. I wouldn't fake being an airline pilot. So instead, I actually studied from people. And for those who don't know, I studied for a decade before I even attempted to make my first comic book. I am very well versed in the history of comics. I am very well versed in different skills. I've learned how to flat. I've learned how to color. I have an artist credit. I letter. I don't want to be a professional letterer, mind you, but I can letter. I want to be a writer. And today, the whole point of being in Continuum is to get to a point where I no longer have to do anything but write. And I can go into a writer's room and help other writers. That's my goal. And it's to get Mike to be he is already there, our head artist, and he makes sure things are happening. We also have the Swerve creator who's behind the Continuum creation, MD McDonald, who I want to give a shout out to. He is part of the journey that we're going on to make the Continuum a better place. He's busy with Swerve, but takes time with us, and he's working with us to help develop out things because we want voices. Before we go any further, we do not have an open submission. That's nothing personal against anyone. We're just not at that position yet. But if you want to have a conversation with us, we're always willing to listen and hear anyone out. But please do not just send us unsolicited stuff. We're not at that position right now. We're taking our time to grow the proper way to make this something that can stand on itself. If you want to submit to the actual Continuum, which is what we'd rather you do, you can find that by going to the Creative Continuum on Facebook. And there's the perfect place to pitch us an idea, and we can tell you whether or not it'll make it into the Continuum. Before we watch our next video, though, Mike, I do have a question that we're basically talking about the creative spirit here. What advice would you give to an artist who's just showing up on the scene right now and wants to get into comics? What is the advice you would give artist to artist for them? I know you see them too. They come to the table.
Yeah. It really depends on where they are in the scope of things and what their goals are, what they want. Some don't necessarily want to do panel pages. Some just want to do fan art, and that's okay too, because people do well with that and actually end up doing stuff for cover art or whatever. For independent and for the big boys. It's just be passionate about it. Believe in what you're doing. I feel like you have to believe in it more than others have to. You can't convince somebody else something that you aren't passionate enough about it.
Yep, that's actually great advice. I was once yelled at for saying I was just a monkey pushing buttons, and was told that you never downplay what you do in this world, because there are so many people out there already downplaying every one of your skills. Don't help them. You're the one person who needs to advocate for yourself, because if anyone hears doubt in your voice, they won't want to necessarily follow you or listen to you. Confidence, not overconfidence, but confidence in what you're good in will inspire trust in you. And that's something, when you're good at something, be good at it and talk from a place of experience and knowledge. When you're not good at something, learn to be better. And one of the people who's got some advice to you about learning to be better is my friend Michael.
Hey guys, Michael Dolce here, creator of The Sire for Sire Studios, Descendant for Image Comics, Plan 59 for Dren Productions, and the very latest book that I have coming out, Time Trader for Rogue Matter. My best advice for creators, I could break it down to 3 things trying to break into the industry. 1, make comics. 2, make comics. 3, make comics. Get a bit of a trend here, but in 3 minutes or less, the best thing I can tell you is if you're an artist, you're only going to get better the more you actually draw sequential pages. So go out there, find out writers, team up, and get paid for your artwork, but most importantly, do it. The more you do, the better you'll become, the more you'll be able to get higher paying and higher profile gigs along the way. If you're a writer, there's nothing that you can actually show people more than an actual finished comic book that can demonstrate that you can write. So again, my advice to you guys is to make comics, and make comics. This has been Michael Dolce. You can check me out on Twitter at @sire_studios. That's SIRE_studios. You can go to Instagram.com/Sire Studios, Facebook.com/Sire Studios, and go to SireStudiosInc.com and check out my new book on Rogue Matter. And you can also go directly to the Kickstarter, which is launching August 31st, SireStudiosInc.com/Kickstarter. That'll bring you right there. Thanks, guys.
My name is Dylan Sharp. For most of my life, I've had the uncanny ability to manipulate time. More specifically, 24-hour intervals of time. When I choose to, I can literally undo anything in my past up to 24 hours the previous day. It's like a running timer in my brain. I hit rewind, and bam, I'm right back where I was the day before. Not 2 minutes, not 2 hours, but exactly 24 hours previous, complete with all the memories and experiences to boot. It's something that could really come in handy right now if I wasn't still groggy from the drugs. I don't know what they used to spike my drink, or how they knew it would block my powers, or how they even knew I had powers at all. What's worse is, I can't help thinking, if it wasn't for my damn mother, I wouldn't be in this situation to begin with.
Now, there's nothing better than actually creating something and people wanting more. Mike, you felt that with Eclipse, Wolf and Fox, because you're the artist behind that. But like people have been clamoring. Speaking of being back on Kickstarter, guess what? Cat Dad is back.
See that mask right there? That's a representation of my son. That is a representation of becoming a better parent. That's a representation of trying to be, in many ways, a symbol of hope. Cat Dad is something I strive to be as a parent. And when we started on this journey for the second issue, we knew it had to be as powerful and as good as the first issue. The problem is, how do you do that? You don't. You stop and you just make a quality story. So if you never read the first book, that doesn't matter. This one stands alone. And it stands powerfully alone as it tells a tale about how dangerous it can be to meet your heroes and how much they can crush your heart. But there's a surprise. Not only in the dream world does something happen, but there's a visitor who sets heroics on the right path. Please join us for this second campaign and remember to rise against bullying.
I'd rather just be honest with you. I'd rather be humble with you and tell you why I created the story. You see that little boy over my shoulder, right over there, and the other side, the supermom, and the big elephant that farts? All of that is based on my boy. He's a special needs 5-year-old who I love with all my heart. And he has made me a better man and has taught me what unconditional love is. So if this story is about him, the standard had to be higher. And when I'm at cons, you'll now be seeing me wear the official mask for Cat Dad and Supermom. So it is important that you have support for each other, share each other's stuffs. You know, you don't always have to back a Kickstarter. I hate creators who go, if you're not backing other people's projects, you're not really part of the indie community. I hate people like that. No, Because if you're backing someone's project that's not good, you're not telling them it's not good. Like they have to be a marketable thing. They have to sometimes failure is a good thing. It's where you grow. Steve Harvey says it himself. He says, remember, you need dirt to grow. Think about every seed. You need to have dirt on you to learn to grow. If everything's handed to you, you're going to hit a wall and you're never going to know what to do with yourself. So don't be afraid to fail. Don't feel like everyone has to. If I'm only getting fellow creators to back my project, Mike knows this, I think we're failing. I think I'm honestly failing unless I know they're fans of the work. And I do have some creative friends who are very much fans of, especially Cat Dad and Supermom. I've had a lot of creative friends who loved what we did in the first one. Mike, you've seen the second one. You've actually gotten a chance to read the second one.
I'm a huge fan of Cat Dad and Supermom. I seen it when you were in development of it, and we were still new as friends. When I got a hold of it and read it, it hit. I knew that was something special. The way it was told, the way it flowed, it just felt right. And it's one of those things I tell people all the time. It passed the smell and taste test for me. And like I said, everybody doesn't like every flavor and everything like that. But I knew reading this product, this is real. And so seeing this new story that on the second issue, it's like, how do you make what you did the first time hit again? And you was able to pull it off, and it works. And people that have been around comic books or Comic Cons or stuff like that will get an understanding of it. And it's told so well without being preachy. Every time with Cat Dad and Supermom, the first issue, it's not preachy, but you walk away with a message that you go, that hits home. And the next issue does the same thing. It's not over preachy, but it's like you walk away and like, wow, I know exactly where that's at. I can relate to that.
And I got to give credit to the team behind it. Of course, you saw that Lego-inspired cover. That's by Lance Footer. Chuck is the editor. Chuck Pino doing an amazing job editing. Raheel, the main artist, and he's got a new kind of groove with the art that I'm really digging. We're really excited. We'll see you on September 7th. But for now, let's get some more advice from some other creators. I told you I was bringing the creators, man. We brought a lot today, a lot of creators that have inspired me, even like a fellow creator named Rob. What a good name.
Hi, I'm Robert A. Malteri, and I'm the creator and writer of Nightwolf. It's been my dream since I was a kid struggling with attention deficit disorder and dyslexia to be a comic book creator because comics helped me learn to overcome my learning disability. Now, this is for you new creators coming in, and I'm going to give you some advice. This is basically off the top of my mind, things that would have helped me. So I'm basically talking to you like I'd be talking to my younger self. So first off, getting into comics, it's not an easy thing. So if you really want to do it, you got to do a lot of dedicating time, a lot of effort into it. And, for writers, you got to find a great team to work with, one that's very responsive and, someone that you can easily get along with. Make sure if you're hiring an artist for something to go very big, think about it this way. What would you want as a fan? What would you like to read? With the art style, when you're coming up with your story, what does that fit what your taste is, or what the artist that you're pairing up with? To find somebody who works with you well, also is great with your story, and is also something that you as a fan would like to see out there in the world. Another thing is when you are going into, let's say if you want to do a crowdfund, either Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or another platform, make sure you build an audience first. Start with an email list. That's very important. Build social following, post updates, post any kind of if you got character designs, stuff anything to kind of get people interested in your comic book, your story, your characters. Post those on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you're using. Find where your audience is and, get in the Facebook groups or whatever, chat rooms, Discords, whatever, don't just be an introvert. You got to put yourself out there. So talk, don't just be like, hey, this is my comic book. Get invested in your audience too. Talk to them about the genres that you like. That, if you're able to plug your comic in there, that's a great time to do it. Otherwise, just, hey, like I said, build that audience. Do that well before you decide to launch a Kickstarter. Along with that, make sure, like for me, I found that having my issue 100% done and print ready was also another thing that helped out for being able to launch Kickstarter, because then that way your audience sees that you already put the time and the effort into it. You've put your skin in the game, your own money into it, and to show that if somebody wants to invest in you, you have to invest in yourself. That's how it is. I think that that's very important. Especially I had a failed Kickstarter back in 2016. All I had was 5 pages and a cover and a bunch of character designs. Then I came back. I decided to fully fund the first issue myself, put it out there, published it, took it to Comic-Cons, and it blew up from there. After my second issue, I did the same thing. But issue 3 finally decided to give another try with Kickstarter, and I had an audience built. And from there, now I have 5 issues, a trade paperback, and I'm about to have a spin-off series called Snowpaw. It's something that you don't think of up front, but you do need to find an audience before you go and do a crowdfund, because it's just like having a venue. And if you have this party, but you don't invite the guests or have a guest list, then nobody's coming to your party. That's basically what Kickstarter or Indiegogo is. That's the venue. You need to invite people. You need to have relationships to bring these people in. So again, big thing, build your audience. Once you have a great art, you have a great team put together, those are your building blocks. Like I said, invest in yourself, build up that audience, and you'll be well ahead where I was back when I first started. So, hey, good luck out there. I want to see what you're creating. Great resources for you. If you are planning on doing a crowdfund, listen to the Comics Launch podcast. Highly suggest it. Tyler James knows what he's talking about. He's gotten me, just from listening to him and then being a part of his community, and also being part of other Facebook communities of creators, work with each other, talk to each other. Talking to somebody about their experience and what they could do, and asking questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's how you're going to get farther in this business. And don't be afraid to try new things. And if you fail, get back up. That's what I did. I failed my Kickstarter. I got back up. I dusted myself up, and I was just that stubborn, and I kept on going. And here I am, making my way through. I may not be the most famous right now, but I'm going to get there. So, hey, I want to see what you do. Reach out to me at lonewolfcomics.com, or, through social at Lone Wolf Comics, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I want to see what you're doing. Hit me up. Good luck, and can't wait to see what you launch next.
And really quickly, let's check in with Danny J. Quick.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Danny J. Quick, doing a quick shout out for Virtual Comic-Con. And I just want to encourage you new creators out there. I've been doing comics, self-publishing for almost 10 years now. And finally, we're starting to see the light. But I know those first couple of years were hard for me, so I just wanted to encourage you all as much as possible and tell you just to keep writing. I think the best piece of advice anybody ever told me was just to keep making the things, For me, it was a passion to tell stories and to kind of escape my situations. Like I said, I started writing when I was in Iraq in 2008, 2009. As a Army veteran, sometimes we can be frustrated, and sometimes I just thought it would be kind kind of helpful to write down these amazing stories that I had in my head. And for me, it was cathartic. And then when I got back home, I just decided to keep writing and keep making things. And, you know, here we are 10 years later, and we're making books. So that's how the Ace Blade was born. And I know that you can do the same thing with whatever characters that you're creating. Whatever stories you want to tell, just keep making them. No matter what skill level you are, no matter, you know, how much money you got in your pocket, no matter how many people support you, just keep making the thing. And then eventually you'll be able to tell your story. So I just wanted to really quick give you that piece of advice. Just keep pushing, keep making. Don't let anything stop you. Everybody roots for the underdog, but the underdog is is a tough position to be in sometimes. So, like I said, shout out to you. Congrats on starting this new journey, and someday, you know, I'll be reading your books. If you want, you can send them to me. I enjoy reading new indie comic stuff. I enjoy reading self-published books. And you know, you can find me on TikTok, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at the Ace Blade. And shout out to Rob for putting this panel together. Shout out to Rob for always being an advocate for us indies, and always trying to keep the spirits alive. So thank you all, and I'll see you next time.
Now, some powerful words have been said tonight. I want to first off thank Sebastian Bonnet for putting this together and his team from iNBEON. You guys have done an amazing job this weekend. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who took time to make these videos, to be part of this show. I mean, I'm inspired now. Like, I came in and I want to go out and make more comics. And that's what I hope you guys did. I hope we gave you enough information. You can find me on all the socials at MrAnderson.com. Mr. Seeley, how can they find you?
I'm on all the socials too. Facebook, Mike Seeley Artist. Also, you can reach me at Mike_MJS _art, as well as the Eclipse comic. That's the_Eclipse_comic on Instagram.
And you can quickly find him by going to ContinuumComics.com, as he's actually in our menu option, as am I. A lot of exciting stuff coming from Continuum. I have a Cat Dad and Supermom #2 is coming out. We have things we can't even talk about. There are creators that we want to join us in Continuum. But more importantly, we want to hear your feedback as fans. We're listening to you guys. For those fans who watched this today, understand how much thought goes into it. Me and this man right here will spend hours talking about what you guys want. We're paying attention. We want to hear feedback from you. We want you to tell us what you want, what you like, what you are dying to see as a story, and we'll go out there and we'll find it. One of the first things we did, and we showed in Heroics, is Mike said there's a big manga audience out there. We need something with that. We got with Curtis, who's Specs Thomas. We got his character in there, Chaz. It was amazing. Look, you can't.
Phenomenal work.
Yes. Oh, the Heroics book, beautiful. It is a work of art. I can't wait to get it in your hands. Halloween is coming. It's a good time to be alive. The summer's officially over because next weekend is Labor Day. So thank you for making this a heroic summer. And we can't wait to get the Cat Dad book into your hands. And what's next? Eclipse is coming out in October. Stay tuned. We are good. There's so much going on there. I can't even begin to explain. Make sure to go to backerpaws.com to check out all the crowdfunding campaigns. Support each other. Do not rip into each other. Stop drawing lines that don't matter. Really think back to 5 years ago when you had a fight with your friend and just try to remember what that fight was over. And realize that the next time you're talking to someone. Mike, you get the last word. You have a minute. Go for it. We're going to zoom in.
I just like to say that what we're doing in Continuum is very exciting. What I've seen us create in the first year is nothing short of phenomenal. A lot of talented people came into play for our first issue, and then as well in our second issue. And it's just great to see all the creativity that's behind out there. People that are just their first projects and they hit home runs on their first projects, and I just love that. And I'm just happy to be a part of that whole part of it. I'm happy to be able to sit at the table with this guy, Mr. Anderson. We got a lot of stuff in the mix, and we have a plan going into next year. There's so much content that is like sitting in the oven, just waiting to pop.
All right, guys, we're out of here. ContinuumComics.com, Mr. Anderson. Across the socials, Mike Seeley. We'll see you on the Comic-Con highway. Check out the forecast to see where we are next, and we'll see you in New York and hopefully beyond. Stay safe, stay creative, and stay interesting. Never let them put you in a box. Never be normal. Normal sucks.